Hey there, you guys, it's me, Crystal, and today I want to talk about titles and how to find the title for your book and blah blah blah. So, I am not exactly a title expert, but I usually tend to like the titles that I come up with, and so, and I don't typically have like a super hard time coming up with a title for a book, and so I just kind of wanted to give some ideas of like how to find the title and whatever. So while I'm working on a project, I have what is called a working title, and that's just because I can't name my projects Untitled Number 14 because then I will never find it. True story, I mentioned this a while back on my blog, but I had a story with a specific title. I think it was called Painted Chaos, and for some reason I changed the title to From Out of the Ashes because I decided Painted Chaos is going to be a From Out of the Ashes rewrite, which was a story I wrote in 2008. That was a bad idea because I was later trying to find the story and I couldn't find it anywhere, and I thought I had lost my mind because it's like I don't delete stories, like I put them in the graveyard, but like I keep everything. So like months passed and I have no idea what happened to this story, and then one day I opened the document because I was like, why isn't this in the graveyard? And did I pull it out? Was I looking at it? Or was I rewriting it? And then I decided to create a new document with this title. Like, what is this? So I opened it and there was Painted Chaos. And I was like, dude. So since then, whenever I rename a document, I have the original working title and then I have the new title and parentheses. So for example, published book number 2, Winter Siren, the working title for that was Songbird. So when I changed the title to Winter Siren, it was Songbird in parentheses Winter Siren until I was done with the first round of edits and it was time to send it to betas, and then I officially took the songbook tag off of it. I did the same thing with my first book. So let's work with examples. So I'm going to use published books 1 through 3 as examples, even though book 3 isn't out yet. So the No Rest for the Wicked was originally called Legion, and that's because of what inspired it, even though what inspired it had actually nothing to do with the story. So what I do when I'm brainstorming titles is I make a list of themes. So I put the working title at the top of piece of paper, and it'll say like Legion at the top, and then I'll say, okay, so what are like some words that I think are like good like themes or whatever for this story. I think for that story I wrote down things like darkness, shadows, restless, and then when I wrote down restless, I was like, I really like that word. I really like it. So I thought about calling it unrest for a while, but I didn't quite like it. Like I wasn't quite excited about it, and so I wrote down some more things, and then as a joke, I wrote down No Rest for the Wicked because that's like a saying, and it's not a super original title because I think I quite honestly am like No Rest for the Wicked like number 19 or something on Amazon. But I just really liked the title, and so I was playing around with that as the title, and I was like, okay, everybody's not going to think that's funny like you do, and so I tried to come up with something else, and so for a while I was going with Taker of Lies, but then I was like, that doesn't really quite fit, and so I went back to No Rest for the Wicked, and I was so excited about it, so I'm just going to go with it, be done, okay. So that's how the title for that went. There was a little less brainstorming with the Winter Siren. With the working title being Songbird, and with there being, like an opera element in the story, I wanted something that was very musical, and so I kind of played around with calling it Stolen Songbird, but then I was like, wait a minute. That is like literally the name of a book on my TBR. And then I thought of Frozen Songbird because that's the name of the opera being performed in the book. But then I was like, that's not visceral enough, And so then I'm like, what? It's like the same thing, but like different. And then I changed it to Winter Siren, and then I was like, oh, I like that. I probably could have come up with something more punchy if I just wanted to I don't know, work on it like for a long time, but I really liked Winter Siren, and so I was like, no, that's fitting, it's pretty, like it fits, and we'll just go with that. So next, for the book I have coming out in April, it is called The Whisper, and the working title for this, now I think about this sometimes and I'm thinking it's a working title. Like, they're always subject to change. So the working title for Whisper was The Shades of My Shadow. So, I'm talking about this idea to a friend and she asked me what the title is, and so I say The Shades of My Shadow, and she kind of screws her face up and then she's like, you can do better than that. And I was offended, okay? And that's just because I'm like, it's a working title. I'm like, I have to call the document something. I have called a document a character's name before. And so I guess I could have said, you know, Jade's story, but that's not exciting. So I'm just like, I'm offended. I'm offended and I'm mad because I don't think The Shades of My Shadow is that bad. I'm like, is it great? No. But the title doesn't have to be great. It just needs to like fit or something. Or like, I don't know, when people see it, they don't immediately roll their eyes. And I don't think The Shades of My Shadow is something people would look at and like immediately roll their eyes or whatever. But in any case, I did go back to the drawing board, and again, I wrote down, you know, themes and, you know, voices and whispering, and I like the word whispering, and I was like, oh, that's nice. So I could call it like whispers or whisper or whispering shadows. So I wanted to step by my sister for some reason. And she actually liked whispers and whisper, and so I was like, okay, so I like it, and she finally liked something. So I decided to go with Whisper because it was fitting, and it was like, you know, it was visceral, and it was, I don't know, kind of haunting and fun. So yeah. So there have been a couple of times, you know, I've gotten together with writing friends and we've been like brainstorming and trying to come up with titles. So I guess if I was going to like break things down, it would be, you know, like, one, like, what is, like, some kind of theme or some words that you like for the story? Now, clearly, I write paranormal, so I really try not to use the word darkness or shadows in the title of my book because they're so, done, you know? And sometimes you just can't avoid it. And I'm pretty sure eventually I'm gonna have a book with shadow or shadows in the title, you know, but it's okay, because sometimes, you know, it's just a really good title for your story, and you just have to go with it. Like, Now Rest for the Wicked. I was like, it's not completely unique, and it's definitely not going to be the only book with that title. And I didn't even think about that before I decided that I loved it so much. Or maybe I would have changed it, and the story would have been called Unrest or something. But yeah, so that's the second thing you can do. You can go see if how many other books or movies even have that same title. Third thing people can do is you can find a word that's close to what you're looking for, and then, you know, find a word that's similar to that but maybe stronger. And then sometimes also the fourth thing people can do is just freaking be literal, right? Like R.L. Stine back in the 90s had this whole series of books that were called Fear Street books. I know he had at least 3 books that one was called The First Horror, The Second Horror, and The Third Horror. Like, just very literal, and sometimes, you know, the simple and most obvious titles are sometimes the best titles also. You know, you think about Harry Potter and The Philosopher's Stone. It's a very simple title, but it's also a very good title. But anyway, so if you're struggling to come up with a title, maybe that would help. Maybe that makes sense. I don't know. I just like talking about writing, and that's how I come up with titles. So I hope you're doing well, and that's all I have for this video, and I will see you guys in another video. Bye.